Hi there, I'm Rebecca, this is Lucas, and today we're doing a nice slow yoga flow to help open up the front of your hips and that hip flexor area. You don't need any special equipment, but you do need to be comfortable getting up and down, transitioning from the floor, and putting weight on your hands and knees. So he's gonna go, you're gonna stay. I'm gonna meet you lying down on your back in just a second. Come on down to your back. Let's grab both knees, pull them in towards your chest and start to rock a little bit side to side, starting to relax and give your weight down to the floor. As you're rocking your legs, take a deep breath in through your nose. And let it go through the mouth. Feel free to make a sound like a sigh. And then we're going to grab your right knee and pull it in towards your chest. Send your left leg out really long. Here's the first hip flexor opening that you have here. As you draw your right knee towards your chest, you're going to tuck your shoulder blades a little bit underneath the body, and lengthening this left leg out onto the mat is going to stretch the top of that hip. So right away you might start to feel it, and if it doesn't feel good, if you're feeling anything pinching or aching or just too intense, bend that left knee a little bit. You're still going to get an opening into that hip flexor family. It is a family of muscles. It's not just one. There's a whole team working there. We are going to switch legs. Pull the left leg in. So now the hip flexor family on the right side starts to get some opening, some length. Your lower back is actually in a neutral position, so you might notice that there's a gentle curve in your lower back. I'm keeping my shoulders down away from my ears, relaxing my head on the floor. Let's take another deep breath in the nose. And out the mouth like a sigh. Good. Bring both knees back in towards your chest and wiggle your hips a little bit side to side in an effort to elongate them away from your shoulders, like you're making your spine a little bit longer. We're going to place our feet flat on the floor, arms along your sides. Right away, again, tuck your shoulder blades underneath your body so your chest sticks out a little bit. We're going into a bridge. I want you to start by tucking your tail under, squeezing your glutes, and then press into your feet to lift your hips up. We're not going super duper high. As soon as your hips start to lift, I want you to put your feet into a position where they're comfortable. That might be moving them forwards a bit, apart a bit, closer together. You might even be turning out on your toes a little bit. Let's not be too picky about your feet and your ankles. I want you to feel this opening and length, this initial opening across the front of the hip and the thigh. You are squeezing and toning your glutes. So if you touch your butt, there should be some wrinkles on your pants. If you have tight pants on, feel a little bit of wrinkling there. We're going to come all the way back down one little bit at a time. Keep your nose and eyes on the ceiling so that your head stays in one position, and then start to let each little bit of your spine come down at a time. And once you land, grab your knees again, bring them in towards your chest, give yourself a hug, rock a little bit side to side. You have already done 2 hip flexor opening positions. We are going to place your feet now wider apart than your body, arms out to the sides if you have space. I'm going to take one arm out. That's the space I have. I'm against the wall. And drop your knees from one side to the other, keeping your feet nice and wide apart. This is called windshield wipers. This is also going to help open up your hips. But really today what we want to do is not just stretch and stretch and stretch and stretch. That usually does not bring us relief. What brings us relief from tension and aches and pains is strengthening the area as well. Okay, so we're just moving your whole body today in different kinds of ways so that we can feel better at the end. You'll feel more open, more yourself, and stronger too. How's that? That sounds good, right? Bring your knees to your chest one more time. Make your spine really long by wiggling your hips away from your shoulders. We're doing another bridge. Place those feet, slightly tuck your tail, squeeze your glutes, and lift your hips up. Your feet can be wherever they're comfortable. Relax your toes. We're going to start to lengthen the arms up towards the ceiling. You want your nose and eyes on the ceiling so that your neck doesn't flatten against the floor. I'm going to keep reaching my arms all the way up and over until they reach the floor. If yours don't reach the floor, don't worry. It's okay. You could take them wider apart like a letter Y, or you could just not let them hit all the way onto the floor. That's fine. Can you lift your heels as well? Just lightly, like a kitten heel. Not like a stiletto, just a little lift. If that doesn't work, put them back down. It's totally fine. Now we're going to bring the spine down. While your arms are overhead and your heels are slightly up, you're going to articulate your spine back down to the floor. You are toning your glutes and hamstrings here. Once you land, bring your arms back down and grab your knees, but from behind the knees. It kind of looks like a happy baby pose. Rock a little bit side to side. Take a deep breath. So we want to do bow pose today. That's our peak pose, and we want to do it properly. So I'm going to be guiding you into some nice cues about your butt. My favorite thing to talk about, engaging your glutes. Good. When you're ready, slowly bring yourself up, as simple as can be, and we are going to transition on to hands and knees. Spread your fingers nice and wide, shoulders distance. Take your knees about hips distance, and we are going to go through some cats and cows. Let's start with that cat stretch. Tuck your tail, tuck your chin, round your entire spine. On the next breath in, you can lift your head, lift your tail, pull those shoulder blades together. Keep toning your abdomen. Don't let it just sink towards the floor. Exhale, rounding like the cat. Inhale, cow position. Again, that's about that shoulder blade squeeze. One more time, rounding like the cat, and then go back to child's pose. And I want you to reach your arms forward. So your hips go back to your heels to relax a bit, but I'm reaching my arms as far forward as I can, and then putting my head on the floor. So my palms are spread, my fingers are spread. I'm connecting to the ground with my hands, keeping those shoulders nice and warm. We are going to lift back up, coming into that table position. Fingers spread, core engaged. Right leg is going to go back. I want you to do that with a glute squeeze. Extend your right leg back like you're kicking your heel into the wall behind you. Walk your left arm forward, and when you're ready, float it up. That's from your shoulder blade squeezing. Unlock your right elbow. Take a breath. Abs are toned. This is called bird dog. We're going to come back down. Other side. Left leg extends. I don't want you to do this by, don't kick the furniture. I don't want you to do this by arching the back. You're going to squeeze your left butt cheek. Walk your right fingertips forward until you're ready. Float them up. Breathe. This is a balance pose, but we are learning to engage our butt, our back, and our shoulders, which is what's going to happen in our peak pose today. Come on back down. Take your cat stretch, rounding from head to tail, and then go back into a child's pose. Just for a moment, take a breath. And we are going to come up into downward facing dog. Coming into table, step your hands one step forward, tuck your toes under, reach those hips back behind you. We are stressing the shoulders today. We spent some time in table position, working those arms, working the chest. We're doing this on purpose. We are trying to heat up and strengthen those shoulders for our peak pose. You're going to walk backwards. Take little steps with your hands until your feet are flat and you're hanging in a forward bend at the back of your mat with your knees slightly bent. Your head heavy and your arms heavy. Start to press down into the floor and roll yourself all the way up to standing. Once you get up to standing, roll your shoulders up, back, and down, and then lift those arms into the sky. Palms are facing forward. I'm going to grab my left wrist and bend over to the right. Keep your chin off your chest. This is like a sideways crunch. We also call it a crescent position. Come back up to the center. Grab your right wrist. Bend over to the left. Do not press your hips forward in space. Go back to the first side, switching wrists. So as you look from the side, I'm not arching this way. I'm keeping my bottom really back behind me. And over to the left and my chest is out in front of me. Good. Come on up. We're going to finally bring your arms down. You've had them up for a long time. Hands on your hips. We're going to lift your right knee up towards your chest. Draw that belly in. Don't lean backwards. Put it back down. Bring your left knee up towards your chest. Stand strong for a moment. Bring it back down. Right knee up towards your chest. Don't lean back. Don't lean forward. Don't lean anywhere. Just press down into that foot. Engage your belly. One more time each side. This is called flexing the hip. So this right leg in towards your chest, that's a hip flexion, making that crease appear. Good. Come on back down. One more time, arms into the sky, palms facing forward. W pull down. As if you have just grabbed a pull-up bar, but I'm keeping my fingers spread. And I'm pulling my chin up towards that bar. My arms come down into that W shape. Show me your palms facing forward. Lift the roof with your hands. Breathe in. Don't push your hips forward. Keep your body in that nice neutral position. Flip your hands forward as if you grabbed a pull-up bar. Squeeze your shoulder blades together as you pull those arms down. Yes, good. Come up to the front of the mat. Stand with your feet about hips distance. Breathe in and lift those arms up into the sky. Breathe out, swan dive, and fold in half. Put your fingers down next to your toes. Step your left foot back. Nice big step. Make sure your right knee is over your ankle, and then place your left knee down to the floor. We're in a low lunge for a moment. I'm going to keep my left hand down on the floor. My right hand comes to my thigh. I'm turning my chest open to the right. Keeping this nice architecture here of that shin bone. It's straight up and down. I'm active through my legs, not lazy. I am pressing them down almost like I would poof, jump up from there. Keep them nice and active. Good. Hands come down to the floor. You're going to pick up your back knee, pick up that front foot. That's a tricky transition. Step back, downward facing dog. Knees are slightly bent, hips are moving back in space. And we're going to move forward. Walk your feet again up towards your hands. At some point you need to pop up onto your fingertips. Let's bring our hands all the way to the shins once your feet are flat. Lengthen your spine forward. And then drop that torso over your legs. Roll on up to stand with heavy arms, heavy head, but strong, slightly bent knees. Come on up to stand. Inhale your arms up into the sky. Exhale, swan dive and fold. We're going to do the other side. Put your fingertips next to your toe tips. Step your right foot back. It's a big step. You've got good architecture in the front shin. The knee is over the ankle. And I'm going to put my back knee on the floor. Right hand stays on the ground. Left hand comes to your thigh. I'm taking a tiny twist. Every twist you have where you're rotating your rib cage is pretty tiny. It's not as much as we often think it is. Now your head can move a lot. You might be able to look up at the ceiling. I'm just kind of keeping my chin over my chest though, because the focus here is that I'm rotating about the rib cage. Place that left hand back down, pick up your right knee off the floor, step that left foot back, downward facing dog. If that transition didn't go that well, it doesn't matter, don't worry about it. Do what you can. Come on forward, please, into plank position and come all the way down to your tummy. You can do that any way you like, maybe putting your knees down first. Then I'm gonna come down onto my side. Go ahead and put your head in your hand or on your arm. We're going to bend your knees slightly in front of you. Your hips are stacked. Your shoulders are stacked, one over the other. And my top hand is on the floor. I'm going to reach this top leg super duper long. I've got a point in my ankle here. Point your toes, point your ankle, squeeze your glute. That glute max right here is squeezing. My leg is at hip height. I'm going to hold, breathe. Your waistline is slightly toned. You could also put your head down here on your arm. That works too, whatever's comfortable. I just like this one better. Now what you're gonna do is bend your knee. Bend your knee as if you're going to bring your heel towards your butt. Pull that shoulder back, 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 and reach back with your hand and see if you make contact with your toes. Maybe you grab your toes. Some people have to lift their knee up in order to grab their foot. That's okay. You just want to drop that knee back down to hip height. You have to look and see if your thigh is actually parallel to the floor once you can grab your toes. Now, if you can't grab your toes, then don't grab your toes. Maybe you can grab your pants, or maybe you're just reaching back into the air, toes and fingers reaching for each other. The most important piece is that you are squeezing your butt and toning your belly. Let that go. Reach that leg out nice and strong again, but this time flex your foot and push your heel into that wall. That's the wall over there, just opposite you. Good. Then relax. Relax your legs, one on top of the other. Whew. That was some good hip work. We're gonna do the other side. I'm gonna flip this way so I can still face you. Lying down. It takes a second for me to get comfortable, so I wanna give you a second too. I'm stacking my hips, more or less stacking my shoulders. My knees are slightly bent so I don't wobble around. And I prefer to have my head in my hand. I'm gonna extend the top leg and I'm gonna point, point, point. So again, in order to extend this leg, I'm squeezing glute max. That's the big butt muscle. It is the driver of how you use this hip, right? That is the driver to actually extend your hip, which is what you're doing right now. And when we extend the hip, you stretch all the muscles in the front. You might feel it up here, more towards the hip. When we bend the knee, you might feel it more near quadricep. Let's start to bend your knee. Pull that shoulder back and see if you might catch your toes. If you catch your toes, see if you can get your fingers to the top of your foot. You could even hold the top of your ankle, just depends on your body. And again, if you lifted your knee in order to grab your foot, that's okay, as long as it feels okay. Drop that thigh bone back down so it's parallel to the ground. Your shoulder blade is pulling back. You're holding here another moment with a glute squeeze and this light tone in your abs. Good. This is going to get us really ready for our bow pose. You're going to extend that leg back out. Press your heel into the wall. Now we're contracting your quadriceps, which is one of your hip flexor muscles. One of them is part of the family that helps you flex your hip. You know what? If this doesn't make sense, don't worry. When I'm talking these muscle names, it doesn't matter because I know you're feeling it, right? So this muscle is tightening. Go ahead and relax, relax. So we're gonna flip around again onto your tummy. I'm just gonna turn to face this way again. Helps me to orient. And from your belly, will you take another child's pose? Pop up onto your hands and knees. We wanna take a moment to just kind of actually flex the hip. Take a deep breath. We're gonna do one more sequence to get into our peak pose. Pop up into downward facing dog. Walk your feet to your hands. Take a few steps. Roll up to standing. Take a breath in. Lift your arms. Swan dive and fold in half. Put your hands on the floor and just step it back. Downward facing dog. Come forward into plank position. Come down onto your tummy. You can always put knees down first. I think that's what's better for me today. And I'm going to wiggle side to side to get my hips nice and deep into the floor. And I am starting to extend my legs already. Going into bow pose means we're going to grab both feet. So I'm squeezing my glutes, drawing my abdomen in, pointing my toes, and I'm going to bend my knees just like you did before. Now, for me, it's difficult for me to reach back and catch my feet. This is a very challenging pose for me. So you may need to do a little cheat, which is take your knees a little wider apart. That's okay. When I do that, I can get both of my feet. Then I want to bring my knees perhaps a little closer together and my ankles a little closer together. They're not touching. No, ma'am, they're not touching. And now from here, I might think about lifting up slightly. How are we going to do that? Take a deep breath in. On the exhalation, you're going to squeeze your glutes and drive your feet up towards the sky. As a result, your shoulder blades may squeeze and your chest may lift slightly up. And that is my bow. We hold here for a moment. Slowly release back down. Put your hands by your sides, pop yourself up, and we're going to flip over onto your back to do some releases, some counter poses for all that work you did. Lie down on your back, cross your right ankle over your left thigh. Figure number 4 or a reclining pigeon. Grab your left thigh, bring it in towards your body. Rest your head on the floor. Take a deep breath. And we're going to switch sides. So you got a much well-deserved glute stretch here after all that glute work. Take a deep breath. Let it go. Release those feet to the floor. Arms along your sides, feet wider again than the body. Drop your knees side to side. This is a nice counter movement for your pigeon pose. And then bring your knees in towards your chest. Hold for a moment there. And we're going to drop your knees over to the side, taking a twist. Let your legs hit the floor. Don't force it if it feels bad in your shoulder or in your back. You can always tuck your arm along your side like it's a sling, like it's in a sling. We're going to open to the other side, dropping your legs. Come on back to the center. Put your feet on the floor. I'm going to opt to keep my knees bent today, and they're just going to boop. They're going to rest against each other with my feet wide, hands on the belly. Close your eyes. Relax your head down. We're trying to relax all the muscles in the body. If you want to put your legs flat because that's more comfortable, you absolutely can. Take a nice deep breath in. Slowly exhale all the way out. Open your eyes. What's the easiest way to get yourself up? Come up that way. Pop yourself up to sit. Place your hands on your thighs. One last deep breath in together. And let it go. I hope you feel great. I will see you again soon.